and let's get going. This is Sathish here, and I'll get going on the next generation unstructured data management from Cohesity. Firstly, thank you for having me here, and I'll walk you through this session, and looking forward to hear from you post the session as well, right? With that, let's get going. Unstructured data, right? You know that data is a digital renewable energy source. What I mean by that is we generate data, more data and more data than any time in history, right? Phenomenal amount of data that we generate. Applications generate data. You walk around in Manila, in Makati, the sensors generate data, the mobile phones generate truckload of data, and then social media, you have phenomenal set, right? But this data that you generate, be it in your organization or externally, they are generated and mounting and mounting and mounting. And most of the traditional solutions have limitation on analyzing it, right? You have this massive data pile, but you don't know what to do with that because most of the frozen data delivers zero value, nothing, right? So what you believe is that you have more data, and there is a phrase that we all know, data is the new oil, right? Data is the new oil, provided you know how to use the oil. You have to take the oil and pour it into a vehicle to make it sensible that it can move forward. But today, data has been piling up and you have no way to use it. And when I meet customers, there's a lot of them thinking about insurance of data because, I mean, when you think about insurance, that is just a backup. But you got to go beyond that, where you look at, hey, can I use this solution to go beyond and generate some value of the data? So you need a modern, a simple, secure, intelligent solution which can expand and extend as per your business and continuously deliver value. So if you look at the data value curve, this is what Gartner has analyzed. Today, we have phenomenal growth in the data. As I mentioned, we are hitting to a point of 73 zettabyte by 2025. That is a phenomenal growth in curve of the data. And the expected is that we should be able to pull out massive amount of information from this data that we pile on. But think about that. 90% of the data is just going wasted. I mean, it's just there for the sake of having it. But most of these data, I would say 90 to 95% of that zettabyte of 73 zettabyte is unstructured, and 90% of them is unanalyzed. So let's take an example. 73 zettabyte is the total data. 90% of them is unstructured. I mean, the unstructured means they are not part of databases, but they are possibly from CCTVs, they are from sensors, they are from logs, they are from many, many applications that is coming along, and they are in the format as it is, and they are never analyzed. Who is responsible? I mean, most companies today, I think 60 to 70% of the customers, when we poll, about 69%, I think, said they are looking at a CDO or a chief data officer who take this data and start analyzing. The reality curve is way below what was expected today, right? So there is a big ROI gap on what data could generate. So if you look at it, what do we need moving forward, right? We have a truckload of data coming from different applications. You can think about, I need to streamline the data, whether it is file and objects, you want to eliminate silos. When you have massive amount of data, you don't have time to start building the system. You have this time to add on and scale, but you can't build your systems on silos. If a system can only scale to 2 petabyte, your business stalls at 2 petabyte. If your system can scale infinitely, and that is something that you want, right? So you want to streamline that and protect your NAS or the file system investment. Optimize cost, which is software defined, so you don't want to bog down or tied by a hardware. You want data reduction, which is with inline dedupe and compression, hybrid or multi-cloud approach, where you want to either leverage on-premises or go to AWS, Azure, or Google. You need to have integrated cybersecurity. We'll touch upon a little bit, and we'll also go into data protection and proven compliance, which is part of the security aspect here. Seamlessly scale, simplify, and redefine or refine insights of the data. Now, insight is something very, very important. because you have massive amount of data that is coming in. Let me give an example. One of my customer has 10 billion files. I repeat, 10 billion files. And of this, if this customer loses 10,000 files, is there any visibility to them today? I got 10 billion files and I lose 10,000 files. Somebody deleted it. I have no visibility on what happened. I had no visibility that there are passwords inside. I had no visibility if there were credit card numbers or Philippine social security numbers. I have no idea unless somebody hacks it and say, okay, I have got your data. Then you start thinking about it. But otherwise, most customers don't think, hey, I have massive amount of data. I don't know what I don't know. So Cohesity's approach is a brand new approach where a combined consortium of file and objects can run on one single platform. It is one single platform which is software defined that provides multiple protocols, which is NFS for Linux or Unix systems, SMB for Windows, S3 for all application-oriented programming languages or repositories, or Swift languages, which is more cloud-friendly applications. So we provide all these protocols right within the same platform, and we are totally software defined. So that means you can scale unlimited. Whatever is the hardware that you like, you can scale. We have optimized efficiency with respect to inline dedupe and compression and all the efficiencies that would reduce cost. We have multi-protocol where we can move data on premises to the cloud and vice versa. Easy to operate. Global actionable search where you can search like Google, and you have integrated apps. This makes it very, very powerful because now you can have a built-in antivirus. You can have built-in compliance architectures, analytics to say who did what when. And you also have data management layer to tier the data from one tier to another tier to another tier. So across multiple Cohesities that you might deploy, be it on premises or the cloud, we could have a single management console, which is a singular multi-cloud interface, which we call it as Helios, which manages and consolidates all Cohesities together. So you could actually look at what is happening across different offices, be it branch offices, be it data centers, be it cloud, you can manage from one single console. Now, Cohesity also helps you from hardware expenditure, especially in the file space, right? We are cost efficient, future-proof, optimized, and flexible. What it means to you is being totally software defined, right? We are not tied to any particular brand of hardware. So you could run off x86 commodity hardware and you can roll out and scale when you want it. And you can scale seamlessly. So that means you had 1 petabyte or 2 petabyte of data, you can add and subtract nodes, because if you go to any hardware vendor, every 2 or 3 years, they have new hardware. They say, I got flash disk, I have NVMe disk, I have a new dense model, I have a lightweight model, I have a very small compact system. Now, how do you scale? If you start migrating these data, that would take a very, very long time. So Cohesity's architecture is being truly software defined, where we can remove an hardware, upgrade in a hardware, and expand when you want it, completely no compromise, where you can just seamlessly scale and independently move your compute and storage. We also have multi-cloud benefit where you can access this data anywhere from any site that you like. You can have disaster recovery and workload migration when you need it from a file structure space. We optimize them, automate, and operate. Now, in addition to this, when you have very, very expensive NAS-based system or a file system, that may be a different NAS, whether it is, say, for example, a NetApp or an Isolon, and these kind of expensive appliances, they are pretty good in what they do, but you want to reduce the cost over time. You could define a policy on Cohesity to say, if the file is 10 GB, and if the file is 1 year old, move it into a cheaper tier. So you can actually create a policy-based data management to say if the file is large or if the file is old, and if the file is old, I would say and or, you could actually drive costs down by having metadata intelligence, and you can drive down in terms of cost and improve your efficiency over time. So it basically improves your efficiency and completely eliminate human risk. Furthermore, Cohesity helps you with inline dedupe compression that will reduce by 2x to 3x, small file optimization for performance, and unlimited clones that are available. We also built in with integrated cybersecurity. You just heard from Fortinet, great presentation earlier. So Cohesity helps you with fortifying your data assets. We have SnapFS, which is our file system that helps you for immutability. We have worm-based architectures. We can control the data access, so there is no service backdoor. We help you to detect threats, especially the cyber threats that may happen on your file system. We help you to accelerate discovery, where you have Google-like search, because we have deep visibility and metadata analytics across. We have assured durability, where we check and restore data as it goes along, even if the disk or a node fails, and eventually maintain compliance because we certify with a lot of technology providers and government compliance regulation that includes whether it is GDPR, SEC 17A4, FIPS compliance, CCA, PCI DSS, etc. Now, Cohesity, along with the platform that we built for file services, we have great amount of applications that you can take advantage. We have antivirus, where you don't have to send it across, and the antivirus is free from Cohesity, right? You have Insight, which can tell you pattern searching. We have Spotlight to say who did what, when, right? All of these are great applications that you can roll out. Now, a very simple example for virus scan. If you have a data stored on a NAS, you have a laptop and you access from a NAS, right? A scan request comes in, and then it sends into an ICAP server, which is far away over the network, and its data will take its own sweet time, does the scanning on a remote server, and it brings back the data, which is complex, expensive, or costly, and very inefficient on a network. How big is the file these days? 5 GB, 1 GB, 2 GB. And if there are 10,000 users double-clicking the file at the same time, there's a phenomenal data movement that happens. What happens with Cohesity is that we completely eliminate all of these. So you can see this picture, you have Cohesity here, and the antivirus is embedded. So when you issue an antivirus request, the system internally scans and provides you very simple, economical, and efficient antivirus scanning. So it doesn't go through the network. It doesn't make any performance impact, cuts down the cost significantly from a perspective of a NAS or a file system. So consolidate file and objects with broad interoperability. You can do archive, compliance, and backup. Your file content data, you can consolidate S3 applications and IoT. These are different applications that you can think about writing into Cohesity. We got some of the large smart cities that are writing into Cohesity for video recording. We write voice records, right? You can think about in your organization, be it voice recording or the video recording data or media files or SMB sharing for home directories or scratch space for NFS. That is all consolidating onto a single platform with the retention, protection, security, compression, deduplication, search, multi-tenancy, and cyber threat detection, all natively blended in within the Cohesity software-defined platform. Now, day one, you have phenomenal advantages to move with Cohesity, be it compliance to reducing cost to productivity improvement with data protection built in. And furthermore, as we go along, you can consolidate more and more workload that helps you to get more advantage with a single platform. Now you look at legacy NAS, right? Let's go to the crux of how things look around. If you look at the legacy NAS, you have the people, you have the applications. You have SMB and you have NFS, that is Windows and Linux. And then sometime you have mission requirements where you look at S3 kind of application writing into a repository. That's where you need S3, or programming languages need S3. And you have external applications that include antivirus, compliance tools, analytical tools, data management tools, and you also need cloud gateway. This is how a traditional file serving architectures work. So you need many appliances to make things happen. With Cohesity, what you do is that you could consolidate all of them into one single platform on any hardware which is certified. We blend in all these protocols, NFS, SMB, and S3 in one single software layer. And we furthermore provide you data classification, analytics, right? Data analytics, antivirus, compliance, and data management, all in one single platform. And we don't have any additional cloud gateway that would take your data to the cloud. So that is also blended in. So you basically have a smart file system that offers Windows file system, that offers Unix file system, that offers S3 repository. So you don't have to go to the cloud. This is your private cloud that you've built. And of course, you can connect to your public cloud if required. And you have all these applications natively integrated inside. I give an example compared to the previous picture that I bring up. This is exactly what you call it as the Nokia era, right? You had a pager, you had a PDA, you had a laptop, a different interesting devices like camera. Guess what? Anybody on the call, do you have all those devices today? The answer would be no, because you have hyper consolidated into an Android or an iOS device today, right? Very similar is what Cohesity is driving efficiency. We consolidate all of these additional devices into one single software platform. So if you look at it, Cohesity provides file and objects into single software-defined architecture. You have file and objects with multi-protocol. You have API-driven design, and this is a web-scale share-nothing architecture that can scale seamlessly, infinitely. Now, the first thing that you get from a freedom of choice. So you look at it, you have no hardware lock-in. So you win because there is no hardware selection that you've got to do, because we can work on pretty much all certified hardware. You have a software-defined architecture, future-proof for today and tomorrow. So you can swap an hardware from one model to another model to another model. So you have makes it very, very easy. You can run on premises, on the cloud, and hybrid. In fact, you can take your Cohesity license, which are portable on premises to the cloud of your choice or to other sites as well. So number one you gain is the freedom of choice. The second one that you gain is broad compatibility. Whether you have Windows or Linux, doesn't really matter. Protocols doesn't matter. You don't have to buy a separate product. Everything is embedded right within Cohesity, NFS, SMB, and S3, natively built in. Stress-free operation, where you're looking at, hey, how can I migrate my data from my existing NAS? Don't worry about that, because the NAS migration is also embedded. We could actually migrate the data. We can actually pull the data as a part of our backup architecture and spin it up on Cohesity natively. It makes it very, very seamless to integrate and more time for strategic issues that you might have. Integrated application, which is a big question that comes about. How do I do antivirus scanning? How do I do file auditing? How do I do content search? Right? If I have a Windows file server with 2 TB drive, how can I know if I have to do file audit? I have no idea. How do I do content search? You can just search on a Windows desktop and it'll take a day or two to get you the answer. With Cohesity, you have integrated antivirus, file auditing, and search right within the system that everything is indexed. You can get it within a click of a button. Cybersecurity made easy, right? We had a whole topic yesterday about cybersecurity. Again, Cohesity makes a whole new difference here, where you talk about ransomware. You think about that. How do I protect my data against ransomware? How do I protect against vulnerabilities inside the data center? That is exactly where Cohesity's architecture is natively blended, be it file services, be it backup or data protection. We have the ability to detect ransomware. We have the ability to detect vulnerabilities and also help you with the rapid recovery. By the way, Cohesity's file system is AES 256 encrypted. Google-like search, when you have millions of files or billions of files, how easy is to search for files? If I have to search for a file, it would take, if I have to go into a Unix system and then search, right? If I have to do an ls minus l, a simple command on a 50 million files that you might have, it may take a couple of hours. And if you want to search a pattern inside a file, forget it. If you have to do a cat across all the file and search for a particular pattern, it would take at least between 1 to 2 months to get it done. Cohesity's architecture is very, very similar to the Google architecture. We index every file that we have. In fact, we can also do content indexing, where we can go ahead, if the CISO officer approves, We can do even searching of social security number, passwords, and content right within a VM, or content even right within a file that makes sense for your organization. And we comply with compliance rules, PII, and e-discovery purpose. Low storage cost. One of the key things to consider when you roll out your NAS or object storage is that how do I keep my costs low? Cohesity comes with significant cost reduction because we use third-party x86 servers. They are not any specialized servers. They are general purpose servers that are available, and with significant dedupe and compression, small file optimization, we can cut down the overall cost that is required to roll out. So you can leverage the budget for everything else. Now, in terms of Cohesity's architecture, you have multi-protocol, right? You have native NFS, SMB, S3, and Swift protocol. Think about that. In your environment, if you need a video recording, a media analytics software to write, or you're looking at home directories, file services to be shared, or Windows file server sharing with a Linux application person, you need multi-protocol access, right? You need the permission workflow between these two. You need built-in data protection, very similar to the Apple time machine. How can I roll back in time? And you need an architecture for that, right? So Cohesity comes with infinite number of backups on the same file system that helps you to recover or roll back in time. And you have data efficiencies with global variable inline dedupe, you have global compression, and small file efficiency. You have data management, which is helping you to move from one tier to another tier to another tier. So helps you to contain your unstructured data. You have cybersecurity built in with software-based encryption, multi-factor authentication, FIPS 140-1, 140-2, and also cluster logs and file or audit logs. And finally, we also have built-in applications where you can roll out third-party and Cohesity built apps, or you can also build your own app, right? Like Insight, like Spotlight, or ClamAV that can give value to the business. Insight is an app from Cohesity, which is free or complimentary, that can search through a file document or a Word or a PPT or a PDF to say if the credit card numbers inside, if there are social security numbers inside, or you can search for passwords inside a file. How do you know otherwise, right? If somebody hacks your data and say, hey, the password was right there, and that may be too late for you to realize. Spotlight tells you who did what when, how many files were deleted, how many were added, who is reading the HR salary.xls. How do you know in your environment today that nobody is reading or your data is absolutely safe? ClamAV, which is the antivirus application that gives you control on a free antivirus tool right within the Cohesity's platform. So just a quick glimpse at what we can do. This is the Spotlight, which tells you who did what in terms of auditing, who did what when and how. And you also have the Insight that gives you the ability to scan through for meaningful analytics within the system, right? So I'm coming to the conclusion here where you have a great file services, object services on Cohesity, but generally customers ask me how easy is to migrate from a Windows file server? How easy is to move from my existing file server? Cohesity gives you a very, very simple, elegant way of migration. You have your production NAS or your Windows file server. We can do a full backup of that, including data, metadata, and permissions. We bring them into Cohesity, and then we restore them as a file server on Cohesity and share it back to the users. The backup is done only once, and then you spin up the NAS on Cohesity, which takes less than a minute. And there you go. The migration is complete. Makes it very, very easy to migrate, not only as a backup tool, but also as a file server that can act as a DR for your existing file server. So that gives you where Cohesity leads today in the unstructured space. Cohesity right within the GigaOM chart. We are part of the leaders quadrant here, or the leaders inner circle, which we call it, where we are an outperformer, phenomenally performing for the file server space. So with that, I thank you for learning through how Cohesity supports unstructured data, but I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have, and I'm opening up for questions.